how you would answer this question for 10 marks. Okay, Ken, there are two concepts here. Who's number one? You number one. That's Mangasutu, eh? And Mangasutu, your question is, what are climate change and global warming, or what is climate change and global warming, and how are they related? You have 1 minute. Starting now.
Okay. Global warming is the warming of the atmosphere, which is caused by greenhouse gases. Climate change is a change in weather. There's also a rapid climate change, which is sudden climate change. So it's sudden, so it is when the change is unexpected. So global warming leads to climate change. That's how they are related. Climate change is the result of global warming. So as the earth becomes warmer, our climate changes, and there's also a rapid climate change, and it's the result of global warming.
Okay, Mr. Eli, how's that?
35 seconds.
35 seconds. You've got a few seconds if you want to grow it anymore.
Okay. We all know that global warming is caused by greenhouse gases. One of the major contributors to greenhouse gases is carbon dioxide. And if reduction is implemented by companies, then this can help us a lot in reducing the global warming that we're suffering right now.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Give the man a round of applause. Okay, number two, who would that be? Okay, here we go. Birthday girl. No pressure. Sam, you ready?
I'm ready now.
Okay, let me read the question first. What role does human activity play in the current global warming trend? I'll repeat the question before you type. What role does human activity play in the current global warming trend? How do humans contribute?
Okay, hi everyone.
No.
Yes, sorry. The human activities such as the heat of fossil, like especially when we produce electricity, we're using things like coal, those are contributing on the global warming because those heat, they affect our greenhouse. And then when also we produce the CO2, which is the carbon dioxide, to the atmosphere, that also increase the heat in our planet. Thank you.
Right. How long was that, Sam? 20 seconds. You got some more time there if you want to grow it. There's big money here.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Give the girl a round of applause. Okay, number three, who would that be? It's Capricorn FET College. This is your moment. Okay. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay, nice jacket. What are some of the impacts that we can expect from climate change?
Okay, thank you, Rob.
You're welcome.
Well, some of the changes that we should expect from now is the fact that now that the environment is being polluted, all these kinds of gases dispersed in the atmosphere, we're actually destroying our habitat, and very soon it will be destructed to a point that we will not be able to actually leave something for the generations that are coming behind us. And as we maneuver, we should be able to create an environment that is conducive to solutions. And the aim is to actually uniquely develop and maintain strong relations with the people around us by offering them advice, motivation, and solutions at an uncompromised and excellence, and resulting in a high, healthy, quality citizens.
Time? Okay, thank you very much. Right, next, who's number four? Sabiti. All right, welcome to Sun City. Should I be worried, sir, about climate change, and will it affect me personally?
I think I should be worried personally, and everyone else, because climate change affects us directly and indirectly. As climate change and global warming have influenced natural disasters, of which a lot of disadvantaged backgrounds and countries have experienced. And all countries should support whenever something has occurred in another country. And especially after a natural disaster has occurred, it means that it needs a lot of money, of which everyone in our world should contribute towards helping whoever has experienced the negative effects of climate change. So I really think that it does affect me and everyone else around the country or the world.
Sam?
44 seconds.
44 seconds. All right. Some smiles there. Good. Number 5. Mambo number 5. All the way from Limpopo. Okay, madam. The question is, what can we do right now to slow climate change and make a real difference? I'll read it again. What can we do right now to slow down climate change and then make a real difference?
Thank you, Rob. What I think we can do now to slow down climate change is we should basically introduce or rather develop ways of dealing with the current climate that we have, and also making sure that we have mechanisms such as new products that are more especially environmentally friendly. And we know that business and economics plays a very important role in our lives. And we should also encourage business and economics to incorporate mechanisms that basically are environmentally friendly to make sure that we reduce the levels of carbon emissions and the CO2 gas. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. So, your question is a very nice one. What role can businesses play in curbing climate change? I'll read it again, just to give you another second to think. What role can businesses play in curbing climate change? You have 60 pulsating seconds left.
Thank you. As we all know, businesses are the biggest contributors in terms of the grid. They use a lot of electricity. So the immediate action that businesses can take is firstly to implement ways of cutting down on electricity usage by introducing generator systems. Also by training staff and employees, because training is key in terms of getting people to know and to learn to understand what is it exactly that is being tried to achieve. And they can also, with the help of other industries as well, because when we talk businesses, we're talking of industries, and industries also contribute to the economy. So at the same time, we have to look at how can they save while they're not losing the economic, input into the country. So that's what they have to look at. Thank you.
You're most welcome. How long was that?
55 seconds.
Oh, well played. 55 seconds. Right. Now we go to number 7. Who is number 7? All the way from NMMU. Mandy. What role can governments play in addressing climate change?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Esan-Jacobs from NMMU. I'm the current chairperson of GCI. I believe that our government plays a very minimal role in introducing climate change and basically rolling out to the people. Our government is so focused on the business sector and what it can do to grow our economy in terms of GDP that they forget that works entail with the environment and climate change. I believe that our government should take a more strong stance towards eradicating climate change as per se. They should make more legislation to say that there will be penalties for people who work against the environment, that we will be heavier fines of people who mine in places they're not supposed to, instead of saying that we'll look the other way as long as we grow the economy.
There you have it, the voice of the NMMU. Sam?
Powerful 47 seconds.
A powerful 40 seconds. But then I'm biased. Okay. Okay, number 8. Who would that lucky citizen be? Number 8. Okay, must be the dude smiling here, looking at me nervously. Which countries, my friend, contribute the most to global warming? And I can tell you, it's not Mauritius.
Thanks for the question, Rob. Greetings, everyone. My name is Liboani Lebuzwane, representing Durban University of Technology, Durban campus. We all contribute to global warming, but the most contributors are, I think it's China, US, Japan, Canada, Germany, India. It's all of us basically, but these are the most companies that, because of the old toys made in China, everything, plastic and whatnot, Indian hair, Brazilian hair.
Stop flirting.
And yeah, us, South Africa. But as we are all gathered here today, we're working on strategies to try and reduce and take South Africa away from the list of the most contributors. Thank you.
Behind that shy smile was a steely brain. With a very good answer, I thought. Number 9. Oh, nervously. What are you a surveyor? You're a quantity surveyor, right? What is the Kyoto Protocol? Can you all say that together? Kyoto. Very good. What is the Kyoto Protocol and what is COP17? Good luck.
Okay, thank you very much. Alright, so the Kyoto Protocol is a protocol that was created by the United Nations. And what this protocol does is it creates a treaty which creates an obligation for countries who are very industrialized and who are the main contributors to carbon emissions. And it creates an obligation for them to actually take steps within their country to reduce the carbon emissions through their economic activities and the infrastructure of the company, of the country. The USA, as he mentioned, is a big carbon, they contribute greatly to carbon emissions, but they signed this treaty and then they withdrew because it created an inconvenience to their economic activities. COP17 is a conference, it's the 17th conference, which is within the United Nations framework. It is a conference of the United Nations, and what it does is a conference to just address the issues of climate change and to find feasible solutions that can be implemented. Thank you.
How many, sir? 59, to quote Sally, informative seconds. Madam, I can see why you're a leader, by the way. Not that the rest of you aren't. Okay, Ati, now this is a tough one for you. No pressure, and if you don't know the answer, just make it up. That's my advice. And don't let them keep them guessing. The question is, my friend, because I can't answer it, I can answer a few. Please list at least 5 of the 8 UN Millennium Goals as set out in the United Nations Millennium Summit of 2001 in Dakar. I made that up. Okay, over to you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Atiman Hoba, and I'm a research assistant for Fresh Environmental Organization. Okay, as we all know that third world countries are the first to suffer in terms of the environment. So the whole point of this is that to enable developing countries to improve their social and economic conditions. So the UN in its conference in the Millennium, that's why it's called the Millennium Development Goals, listed 8 goals that can be used by those countries to develop. They wanted to develop maternal health, reduce child mortality, to eradicate poverty, to...
Time.
Okay, thank you.
I wonder if any of you know those goals, but don't tell us because we're going to interact with it just now. A little hand for our man here. You make a good politician, my friend. Sammy, how many pulsating seconds was that?
Exceeded the time. 1 minute, 1 second.
1 minute and 1 second. All right, well, that was good. Right, so you have now addressed the table. Now, contestants, what we're going to do, or chairpersons, is you're going to select a question, but not one that you had. And Sammy, 2 or 3 people can answer the same question. So choose a question from the dot projector here at the back that you think you can really do justice to. I'm going to give you a minute or 2 just to look at it. The rest of you can jot down the 8 millennium goals. I think Capricorn FET knows those ones. You Googled it, you clever man, you. It's the Google generation. Alright, have you got your question? Have you got it? Chew on it a little bit. Check that it's got a start and an end. That we warm to the topic. That you give us a pithy conclusion. Alright, you ready? Who would like to start? Alright, Ati. Ati, just give us the name of the question.
I chose number 7, what role can government play?
Alright, you have 1 minute, starting from now.
Okay. First of all, I'm a law student, so I'm going to legislate about this. Section 8, read together, Section 24 of the Constitution states that the right to environment, and that also applies to the government. Government has answered that by introducing legislation in the form of NEM. But my problem with all of this is that what role can government do? Government has legislated, but then the problem is that government, the figures of government are not communicating. So that is why we have so many problems in terms of the environment. They are not communicating, so there is a loss of information that is passing between the spheres of government. So what I think that government can do is to introduce campaigns within its own structures to speak to each other so that they can make sure one of the roles of government is to be a watchdog. And I feel that by not watching, businesses and us as human beings, as individuals, are getting away with a lot that we could fix. So I think government needs to work with their fears.
How is that? George Bezos, step aside. Right, who is going to be next? It's Mangasutu, is it? VUT, sorry. My humblest apologies. You are of chosen number? Question number? Number 9. What is the... Number 8. Which countries contribute the most to global warming? And I'm going to add just a little question. Why? Makes more sense. Alright, you're my man. Hit us.
I'm going to focus mainly on China. For all those who watch the news and read the news on climate change and everything, you would have noticed that in the past, a few months ago, China requested a loan of 600 million for green projects. And this was the reason for that is that China went dark during the day due to the pollution from the mega factories, because everything that we use, from your iPhone to your All-Stars that you're wearing, made in Vietnam, comes from those countries, and those countries contribute the most because they have mega factories there. That's where everything is manufactured and then brought back. We import it from there. So they caused a lot of pollution, and now they have taken out a loan of 600 million for green projects from the World Bank. Thank you.
Okay, I like what he says here, that we let them make the stuff and pollute their place, and then we buy their stuff here and we wear it. We're so naughty. Okay. Who would like to be next? Capricorn, I see that hand, brother. Which one did you choose?
I'm taking number 5. What can we do right now to slow climate change and make a real difference?
Okay. What can we do right now to slow climate change that will make a real difference? 1 minute.
Education is key. So in order for us to effect these changes, we need to educate people on issues relating to climate change. Education is the key to a better South Africa. So by going out there, engaging people, telling them of the dangers that they're causing to the environment would actually result in us making great difference in terms of the betterment of our environment. And one other thing that we must do, sharing. We need to share. As we vacate here, we'll be living with a lot of information, and that information needs to be filtered to people around the country, around the world, as we are on social networks, most of us. We shouldn't tweet about entertainment only. We should tweet about issues relating to climate change. The more we learn about ourselves and the earth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Capricorn. Just 2 things. What are you studying? What are you studying? Marketing. Okay, if you don't get a job in marketing, you must think of radio. Don't you think he's got a nice deep voice? A bit like Bob Mabena or one of those guys. Now here's the thing, I just want to thank Capricorn for being here today because they're the only FET college here. And we hope that GCI is going to make an effort to go and pull in, or whatever technically and politically correct word you want to use, but to involve FET colleges. They've got just as many students as universities and colleges. So well done, thank you very much you guys. But don't give them extra marks for that. Right, who's next? Right, the NMMU has got its hand up.
Question number 10, please.
Number 10. Did you say number 10?
Number 10.
Okay, you need to speak a little louder because you've got a very gentle voice. Alright, number 10 reads, please list at 5 Googled UN Millennium Goals set out in the United Nations Millennium Summit. You have 1 minute.
5 of the 8 Millennium Goals include eradicating poverty and hunger, a sustainable environment, universal primary education, gender equality and women empowerment, as well as developing good relations between countries. And these questions were Googled because we tried to Google. These goals were created after the millennium had begun because people thought 1999 was the end of it all. So in 2000 they created all these goals to ensure that the world continued as it should and that we built a more sustainable environment, not only environmentally but also in world relations, that we could become a more well-rounded universe as a whole.
Outstanding. Sam, how was it?
42 seconds dot.
42 seconds dot. About to be beamed across to the world. By the time you get home to Limpopo and Capricorn and those places, this will be flashed across the world. Right, who's next? Alright. Come, Sissy, don't look so anxious. Which one have you chosen?
Question number 4.
Number 4. Should I be worried about climate change and will it affect me personally? Meaning you.
Yes, Rob, you have to be worried. Because our ecosystem is being disturbed and the temperature is keeping on increasing. We have skin cancers, we have all these diseases, and others are being affected by the fumes that we're releasing, the emissions. And then yes, it can affect me personally because there's a saying, life is completely impersonal, but every event has your name in it. So whatever happens in USA, we're talking about the tsunami and everything, it goes back to us and affects us. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, Sam?
7 seconds.
37 compact seconds. You know, you must become a journalist. Not only a fashion icon, but a journalist. By the way, I love those socks, I mean, they are fantastic. Right, who's next? Alright, we've got CPUT on the chair here, in the green shirt, very appropriate. Number?
Sorry, number 6.
Number 6. Alright, relax. What role can businesses play in curbing climate change? 1 minute.
Businesses, they need to start, and they have to make a decision and engage themselves now and invest on our countries and our continent. What they can do is, the first step is to invest in education, because the more educated students we have, increases their probability of coming up with innovative ways in order to eradicate climate change. And also, climate change is affecting our agricultural system, of which all of us need to eat on a daily basis, and we can't come up with innovative ideas without food. So I think that the universe is giving us rain on a daily basis, and our agricultural system is affected by the weather patterns, and we don't have sufficient water. So what businesses can do is invest on water projects and ensure that we can sustain our environment through that. And also looking at infrastructure development, that our builders, architectures, they need to find a new way in building now. Because you can actually, some innovative ways that they can do is influence the environment, limit the amount,
60 economical seconds, CPUT. I was growing in your presence there, that was a good answer. I'm always bothered when you come to conferences, Sammy, and there's plastic with water inside of it. And then people drink half the water, and then the plastic and the other half of the water just gets thrown away. Eh? What do you think of that? Anyway, thank you. You mentioned water, managing water. Who's next?
I'm from the University of Pretoria.
Right, what is your question?
Question number 7 as well.
Number 7, what role can government play in addressing climate change? Are you still awake? All right, because I'm going to ask you next. Who's next?
Okay. I think the government should take advantage of using environmentally friendly activities to empower disadvantaged communities, because they can be empowered to use economic activities to empower themselves by, simple acts such as gardening to support themselves, and using recyclable materials as products to create products which they can sell. So if the government implements steps to empower disadvantaged communities to really support themselves using environmental activities, that will also, communicate a message of using such things to sustain our lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 50 fucking seconds. Stop it, Sammy. Right. Who's next? Alright, we've got Limpopo. Alright, the mic is here. Would you mind if we just sort of did it this side? No, it's okay, roll. Yeah, got it. Okay, now we're going to Limpopo. All the way to Limpopo. Alright. Sam, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Which question, ma'am?
I chose question 7.
Question 7, which is very popular. What role can governments play in curbing, in addressing climate change?
Basically what the government can do, okay, initially they started with introducing, or more like having a policy in the Constitution, which is in Chapter 25, Section 8, which states that everybody has a right to an environment. And subsection B states that everybody has a responsibility to look after or take care of the environment. Therefore, it is imperative for governments to make sure that they reinforce such policies, and with issues of, or rather, introducing preservation and conservation, because we all know that government has more power, or rather, they have a good way of making sure that people are interested. And using conservation and preservation, for example, the nature parks. If we conserve nature parks, we can encourage people to make sure that they also look after the environment and giving rewards at the end of the day. And we have measures such as type of management that can be used to protect the environment. For example, we have anticipatory management.
Time.
Thank you.
Okay. Conservation and preservation of the government.
It's Fisher from MET. I've chosen question number 9.
Question number 9. Do you mind if I just read it because I like that word? What is the Kyoto Protocol and what is COP17?
I must say you have a nice Chinese accent.
Sorry?
I must say you have a nice Chinese accent.
Oh, a Chinese accent. So to
start off, we all know that the country and other countries, especially the United Nations, the United Nations are great contributors of greenhouse gases. So now at the Conference of the Parties, which is the 7th conference held at Morocco, a Governmental Protocol was implemented. It seeks to restrict the amount of carbon emissions emitted by all the nations which are big contributors in terms of greenhouse gases. So we all know that the USA and other countries like China are also big contributors. But USA entered into the legend when they entered out again, because they knew that they couldn't stand with it, since that they are big contributors and that the economic development is not in coherence with what the protocol states. So now, if we all encourage all the United Nations to actually implement this and have it stranded out and then done, it can reduce the amount of gases out into the atmosphere. Thank you.
Sam?
Exactly 60 seconds.
Exactly 60 seconds. Okay. Did you say the Kyoto Protocol was signed where? Morocco? No, man. Was it in Kyoto? No. Was it signed in Morocco? Won't you Google it for us, please? Where was the Kyoto Protocol signed? Right, who's next?
DUT.
Right. Roll. DUT.
Rob, I went to question number 7 as well.
Number 7. What role can governments play in addressing climate change?
The government can have a big role to play when it comes to climate change because policies like the Department of Education, they should include syllabuses that involve climate change from a very early stage, because what seems to happen with our government is that we are exploring at the expense of our youth generation. We're changing from Bantu education to OPE. Every minister that comes in tries to implement at the expense of kids. So they should try and include modules that involve environmental sustainability and environmental health and housing departments. All the RDP houses that are built, they should be greener. They are trying. I know in Newcastle they have these solar system geysers. I'm not sure whether other provinces have it. They are trying,
yeah.
But they should do more. Jacob Zuma and Desmond Tutu will be the first citizens to have the new card ID system. It's saving us less paper and less money. So we just have one card like the driver's license.
Thank you.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a minute question. Are you saying JZ's got the first?
Yes, Jacob Zuma and Desmond Tutu. They will be the first citizens to have
I thought
that card.
Naledi Pandor was the first one. But I'll go with you.
News 24.
Okay.
Never
Remind you of you. Who's next? Are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
Everybody done? How about a real rousing applause for these guys? That, ladies and gentlemen,
We have a question for you, Rob.
You have a question for me?
Yes, Rob.
Yes, dear.
8 million calls.
The what?
8 million calls.
The 8 million, don't you know? Must I repeat it for you? Where's my phone? I know some of it. Okay, I'll answer that at tea time. Colleagues, thanks very much. You guys did really, very well. And is there anybody, before we just move off this topic, that would like to ask any of these people a question related to the green stuff? Anybody? I challenge one person to come forward with a question. Staff member, one individual. Bold enough. There, I see that hand, sister. I've been watching you. You are alert. This lady is alert.
My question is to all of you and general, anyone can answer it. Do you guys think, do you think what you're doing now is sustainable? Will you go out, like after this conference, after you finish university, when you go out into industry, will you continue doing what you're doing now? Or is it just for, oh, I'm in university, I can come up with great ideas, and then you go out, and then the activism stops?
I like that question. Are you prepared to carry on with this thing? Who's going to speak? All right, we'll take Mandy.
Thank you for that question. With every person that comes through this whole GCI thing, as GCI NMMU, we try to push the fact that it's not just about where you are. It's not about what you're doing right now. It's about creating a mindset that this mindset is going to stay with you through the rest of your life. It's not about saying just because I'm at rest, I'm going to switch off my lights now. It's not about saying I'm going to go into the business sector, I'm going to be an accountant, I'm going to be a lawyer, but I'm not just going to be an ordinary accountant or an ordinary lawyer. I'm going to fight for environmental rights. I'm going to calculate that my company should use less paper. This is going to save us money, not only save the environment, but save us money. So it's not just about creating projects now, having a fashion show. It's about instilling a mindset in people that says that it's not a choice, it's a way of life. It should be as essential as saying, I need water, I need food. Saving the environment should be a need, it shouldn't be a want, it should be a choice, it should be a way of living.
As the Fresh Environmental Organization, as we said that we are looking at first perspectives, so we're trying to change the people, the way people's culture. As Simon Gay said yesterday, we have been hitting a roadblock in terms of that. I can say that at our university, we hit a roadblock in terms of that. So what we are aiming at, what we've learned here is that we're going to take what we've learned here and our objectives for the year and implement them in the culture in which the people do that. That is why when we get back, we work with the management. Management has certain things. First year students, when they come in, like, I'm going to steal some ideas that you guys have had, like they sign pledges in terms of go green. It's things like that. It's like, we went to a forum before we came here, that's why we're late. In that forum, we had a speaker from the Green Building Council who said that there's this myth around environmental issues that says you need to have money. That's a myth. There's certain small things that each and every person can do. There's 49 million of us in South Africa. If each and every person does something, there's a lot that can be done in that.
Well, I guess it means yes. I see a persistent, oh gosh, we're getting out of hand here now.
I've got
Sam, talk to me. What do I do? Can I take 5 more minutes?
Two more.
Yeah, two more questions, all right.
Only 2, yeah.
All right, do one here, and then there's a desperate hand on that side. Oh my word. Let's just take 2 there then. It's logically, sorry bro. We'll do your tea time. With the Millennium Goals.
Okay, thanks. My name is Mapol Sasiana from CPD. Yeah, my question is general. Yeah, the question is, there are so many summits that have been held, I think from COP1 up to COP17 and Kyoto Protocol. According to your knowledge, is there a difference these summits that they do to this climate change, or it's just a waste of money?
Okay, so what are you saying? It's a waste of money. All these conferences and whatever are a waste of money because nothing happens. Okay, did you get that? Who's going to respond to that? Let's give Capricorn a chance. Must I get up? All right, I'll do that.
Thank you for that question. I can say currently we are reaping the fruits of all those conferences that have taken place. There is actually the practical work now. So it wasn't a waste of time, money, and energy. Since now we have information, we are sharing it, and it's in my hope and belief that when we get to our homes, our colleges, we will practice what we have learned. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just need to share something for 20 seconds. As we all here, we come from different provinces, and our parents depend on us to come and get educated. And what we forget is we get educated and then we go on and implement stuff in other provinces as well. But let's go back and invest at home. Let's go back and teach the people. During your December vacation, during your June vacation, have a project that you have planned that this is what I'm going to do to influence the young kids to see that this is the bigger picture, this is where we need to fight towards. Please influence your parents to buy water tanks and save as much water as possible. Giorgios, they are very important. The amount of water we had 30 years ago is still the same. There's no tree that you can get water from, but the population is increasing. Water is important. Please be aware of it.
I've got one more. You take two. Okay, Sammy is going to blitz me. If we don't stop. But let's just take the one question, I'll risk being blitzed.
He will try to be short, hence his talk.
Okay, short, Chief.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm actually from Superior, I'm from Devon Research Technology, Devon campus. Anyone can answer the question, but I would like it to be answered by the one since it's from Cape Town. My question is, what do you think about the fracturing of the Karoo, since you're the closest to the Karoo? You know that it's got some it's got a negative impact on the environment. What do you think about it? Anyone can answer it, but
okay, all right. Fracking, that thing where they're going to explode the earth and extract stuff, it's going to create lots of jobs, but it's going to mess up the environment. So what do? Who's got it? Who's got it? Look, let's go to. It's got to.
Thank you for the question. Regarding that, we all gathered here because we're trying to find solutions as to save the climate and our environment. And with that, we're fighting the issue, the problem that the government is mainly focusing on opening or rather increasing the GDP of the country. So what is more important to us than the environment compared to increasing the GDP of the country? Firstly, we need to make sure that we sustain our environment. After sustain our environment, it's then we can move on and say we have to increase the GDP of the country because we're faced with the issue of overpopulation. We know that the overpopulation is actually having a negative impact on the environment. So it is important for us to deal with the issue that we have right now rather than jumping onto the next one. We have to do with saving the environment and making sure that we reduce the level of population before we can move to the other ones. Thank you.
I thought that was a good question, actually. Sammy, what's your view on this fracking thing?
Well, it's a big problem. We've always been of the opinion that those people in the peri-urban areas and the rural areas, those will be the most affected. The problem is with the fracking is that we will only know 20 to 30 years down the real effects, right? Business people are coming with wonderful plans and they reckon this thing is sustainable, but it's only 20, 30 years down the line that we will see the devastating effects on the environment and on the economies and on the people itself. But don't worry, I got a specialist here in Professor De Wit who will shed more light on this topic later on. Thank you, Rob.
But your opinion is important. My opinion is if we frack, we frack. If that makes sense. You know what frack is? We die in Afrikaans. Fracking and fracking. In fact, my mother is a fracking fan. My mother's a mother fracker. Okay, thank you very much to you guys. You did really did very well. Please go back and sit down. Give them a rapturous round of applause. Stand up. Right, turn around, just, shake around. Prof, if you wouldn't mind coming and set yourself up. Turn around, stretch.